Hello, and welcome to another episode of the Citizens of Lorcana podcast, a podcast where we invite you to be part of their world. We're your hosts, Jared and James. Today, we're talking with a special guest, Alicia from Walt Disney World News Today. We're talking all about Lorcana, so without further ado, let's jump into the episode. Hey everyone, welcome to another week. Last week, we were able to reveal our own card for set 2, which was incredible. It was such an honor of a lifetime. And we talked about casual versus competitive play. So if you haven't had a chance to listen, make sure to go back and catch that. Today, we are super excited to be joined by a friend of the show, Alicia, of the popular website, Walt Disney World News Today. How's it going?
I'm going great. How are you guys doing?
Good. Super excited to have you on here.
Yep, we're doing great. Let's just jump into talking about stuff. So looking through your history on the website, it appears that you are a fellow park enthusiast, which I am as well. When did your love of Disney start? And is that what led you into the love of theme parks?
Ooh, super good question. So I grew up a native Floridian. My first visit to Magic Kingdom was when I was 3 months old, so I don't even remember it. I grew up an annual pass holder, and Disney for me was 2.5 hours away. When I went to college on the back lot of Universal Studios in Orlando. So for me, like loving theme parks was just like, oh yeah, Disney's in my backyard. I go all the time. And then going and being at Universal, we rode the Mummy every day over lunch. So it was like, I love Disney. I'm a Disney girl. Love Halloween Horror Nights. Love the spooky stuff. So like for me, it's just I love all the theme parks. And like one of my biggest goals, I would say, is that I'm trying to visit all of the Disney parks before I'm 30. So I'm at 3 out of 6. We're looking to do Paris next year. And then the sticky ones will be China because I have no want to go to China. So we'll see how that turns out.
Yeah, I hear
Okay,
I have some friends who are fellow park enthusiasts, and I think they have been to every park now. And
so cool.
I don't know if you've seen, but there are people who like try and hit multiple parks in one day.
Oh yeah. I don't know if you guys were following. There was like this guy, I think he was on like Instagram and Twitter and a bunch of stuff, but he went to not just every castle park, which is like normally what everyone's goal is. He did every park. So we're talking like the Studios Park at Paris and stuff. And he would just get off a flight, go to a park, go to all the parks, get on a flight, go on the next. And I was just like, I don't know how you do it. That's so much money that I do not have, but also like the time and the commitment and the jet lag, like good for that guy.
Yes, much more casual park going for us.
Yes.
So here I am. I grew up in Idaho, and I was lucky enough to go to Disneyland twice as a kid. So hearing you guys talk about, you went to Disney World when you were 3 months old, I am so jealous. As a kid, I always said that my goal in life when I retire is to retire in Los Angeles so I could just go to Disneyland every day.
Oh, that sounds like a good retirement, honestly.
I'm
here for it.
There are worse ways.
Oh, absolutely.
Great weather, theme parks. Although I would say maybe not LA, maybe San Diego.
Orange County. Yeah, I like San
Diego. San Diego is like all the benefits of a big city, but it doesn't feel like a big city. So
after just spending like 10 days in LA, I can definitely say LA isn't it.
All the people in LA are like, what?
I know. Sorry, guys. It's just your city is like really dirty. Like and it's not shade. It's just that's how it is. And like I live in Minneapolis, and like our city has had its fair share of issues, I would say. But like, yeah, I get it.
So did your love of the parks and Disney start at the same time? Because they were just kind of like one and the same experience.
Yeah, I would say it's like just so intertwined, and like some of my best memories growing up, especially like happened at the parks. Like I celebrated my birthday there. I had a family member pass away when I was 18. Some of my like most treasured memories that I have of that person are from when we were at the parks together. So it's so deeply connected to me.
There really is like a sense of magic and wonder going to those parks. And I wasn't sure what it was like, with you being able to go all the time, if it retained that sense of magic and wonder, but it sounds like it did.
I think it does. And I have been lucky enough, my significant other hadn't been to Disney since he was like 6. So getting to bring him now as an adult, because obviously I'm making him go to all the parks with me. And like, it's been really fun kind of watching someone else get that wonder and joy. When we were watching World of Color, he like turned to me at the end. He was like, I get it. Like this, I understand everything now. And like, I was a little sad that it wasn't Happily Ever After that did it, because that always makes me cry. I was like, you know what? If World of Color is what made it happen, that's fine.
That's a goosebump moment.
It is. Oh man, the tears. Oh, so many tears.
So I don't know if I've shared this with anybody, but back when I was in grad school 12 years ago, that makes me sound ancient. I was obsessed with Walt Disney World News Today. Like I went to that website every single day. I kid you not. I even applied to write for there, but obviously it didn't work out. So tell us how you came to be associated with Walt Disney World News Today, and what exactly is it that you do?
So fun fact, and this is one that isn't super commonly known, it's just WDW News Today. So all of our sister sites like DLNT, UPNT, those are like Universal Parks News Today, Disneyland News Today. WW News Today is just WDW News Today. It's not Walt Disney World News Today. We have still people in staff meetings who will say Walt Disney World News Today, and Tom Corliss will unmute himself and be like, it's just WDW News Today,
So
which I think is so funny.
what does it stand for then?
It's just WDW News Today. That's us.
And
Yeah.
it just coincidentally happens to be the same initials as Walt Disney World. Okay.
Just a little coincidental. Yeah, I can totally understand why people get confused. I even made the same mistake before I got hired there. And when I was hired there, still hired there. But I started there, I think it was 7 years ago at this point, which is such a long time. And it was a random like Facebook post, which is how we get most of our applicants, honestly, because whenever we have openings, we'll just post it on social media and say, hey, apply. And I kind of thought like, well, I had just gotten hired because I work in the art industry. Artists don't make a ton of money. Shocker, I know. It's like not a saying or anything. And I was like, well, extra money, get to talk about like Disney. And it was remote. Obviously, I wasn't living in Florida anymore. And it was just kind of like you could work at your own pace. And I was just like, sounds great. And I did my interview with Jason and I showed up in mini ears. And he was like, well, this girl's hired because she's crazy. Fits right in with the rest of us. That's been it ever since. I've had a bunch of different roles at the company over the years, but I got hired on initially as a writer.
So that's an interview tip is wear your Mickey Mouse or Minnie Mouse ears for the interview.
Always. Bonus points instantly.
So what's it like working at a place like that? I mean, you just cover all things Disney. Well, I mean, I understand you also do like Universal.
Yeah.
But what's it like working in that type of job?
It's chaotic. I mean, we are at our core, and we always try to remind ourselves of this. We are a news site, and we try to hold ourselves to the standards of journalism. We try to be accurate in our reporting. We try not to take sides. We try not to have bias, obviously, because at the end of the day, that's what kind of makes our site stand out more, or that's what we try to think. But yeah, it's busy. It's always busy. We have so many different departments, so many different employees. We've got people working on our app. We have people working on our merch store. We've got reporters on both coasts. We have people in Tokyo. The writing team is going nonstop from 6 o'clock in the morning till like midnight. Obviously we have a bunch of writers on staff. It's not the same person working, but like once we start publishing in the day, we don't stop. And then you have to break for news. I know even today they had to stop because the earnings call with Iger was happening. Meanwhile, at the same time, we're trying to deal with festival holidays at Disneyland, which was like at the same time. And it's just like, you kind of spread yourself thin throughout the day, but it all gets done at the end of the day. But I like that really busy, chaotic pace. So for me, it's great where it's just kind of like everything's on fire, just tackle one thing at a time and you'll get through it.
So you mentioned the Disney holiday events. Your posts are mainly about seasonal events at the parks like that. How did you kind of become that liaison? You know, since you're doing all this stuff, how did you become WW News Today and Lorcana? How do you connect those when you're doing all these seasonal events at the parks?
It's a fun question. So initially, like I said, I was hired on as a writer, and then I kind of bounced around a bunch of different jobs and started doing editor-in-chief stuff. And I was just like, I can't, like, mentally, like, props to our editor-in-chief, Katie, and then Brittany is also one of our girls. They're phenomenal. They have such a mental fortitude that I don't have, where I was like, I can't be up and working on news 10 hours a day. It breaks something inside of you, or at least it did for me. It didn't help that it was during COVID that I was doing this.
Didn't you just say you love
like,
the chaos?
I do love the chaos, but like running a publishing schedule is like insane, and you have to know all this stuff about like the best times to like post things and like clicks and like tracking all of that. It's just not my thing. I was like, I need to just write. So I stepped back from editing, and I was like, all right, well, I'm a senior at this point. I kind of have, I could do whatever job in the company that I wanted. It really wasn't like a question at that point. So I was like, I'm going to work on stuff that makes me happy. I love all of the special events. I love Halloween. I love Christmas. I love, the food festivals and stuff that go around on Epcot and Disneyland. So it was just kind of like, I'm going to work on that stuff. And it's fun for me, and it's helpful for the company, because then we're not having to spend time with writers working overtime. They don't have to work on like in preparation for getting all these events done. I can just be the one to sit there and do it. And then at the end, I'm just like, here's everything that we need to go buy. Here's all the reviews you guys need to write, move on. So I really like that. It's super like organizational, which I like. And I always go down for the food festivals anyway. So it's like I get a sneak peek at what I'm going to be doing. So then when Lorcana came out, since I was already doing kind of all of this like extra stuff, I was like, I went out to Tom, who's, like I said, our boss, Tom Corliss. And I was like, I want to start doing stuff with this. And he was like, I don't care. He's like, is it going to cost me money? And I was like, no. And he was like, go, have fun. I don't care. And I was like, cool. And so I had already played a bunch of card games before, and we had like kind of done some stuff with Ravensburger. We had worked with them a little bit when Villainous came out. We were able to get a couple expansions from them, and I was just covering it because I like board games and I'm a nerd, and it was Disney. So I was like, well, this fits. So then obviously when Lorcana came out, I was like, we're doing this. So we got a press pass for Gen Con, and we just hit the ground running. We had 2 of our other coworkers come out there with us, and it was just like Lorcana content as much as we could do. And that was the start of it.
That's like the perfect segue, because I wanted to ask you about Gen Con. And I saw that you shared a post where you were at Gen Con, where you shared a learn to play video, which was awesome. I was at Gen Con too. It was crazy. It was such an experience. We all know what a debacle the first day of Gen Con was, but in hindsight, what was your take home message from Gen Con about Lorcana? Like, we all kind of knew that it was going to be a big deal, but what was your impression coming away from the convention?
I still struggle with this a little bit, because we had such a negative experience, and I don't want to fault Ravensburger or Gen Con, because at the end of the day, we don't know who said what to make the situation happen, and I don't want to harp on that anymore. What I can say from my experience was that one of my coworkers got hurt, and that's not a fun situation to be in. And she's tinier than me. I'm 5'4". This girl's like 5'2". She got slammed into a door, her glasses got knocked off, the wind got knocked out of her. They had to make an incident report, and the Gen Con staff that said she was like number 4 of the day to make one, and this was like 10 o'clock in the morning. So I mean, that's not a fun situation to be in by any means. So that leaves a bitter taste in your mouth. I've been to other Gen Cons before that I thought were run better than that situation. I will say that Ravensburger the next day turned it around, right? They saw what the issue was. They said, hey, we're gonna have the pre-ordered line. They came out the next morning with like the food and like the coffee and stuff, the orange juice, making sure that people were staying hydrated, had like the electrolytes and stuff. And I think if they hadn't done that, this would be a very different conversation. But they turned it around, and we can see that even now, I think they're still listening to people. Reprints weren't going to happen until early next year. Reprints are happening now. I know my significant other just got back from a store and had packs. We haven't had packs since August, I think. maybe September when the game hard launched. So I think they're listening to people, and I think we just need to be patient. I do think that they botched it a little bit with the numbers. I think they should have been paying attention more online and seeing the hype for this. D23 should have been a tip off, but I guess it wasn't. But the only thing we can do is watch it go forward. If we're still having these issues by set 4, then that's definitely a different conversation. But right now, I think we just need to wait and see that they are making, steps to kind of rectify situations. And that's a good thing in my book.
Yeah, I agree. It's been refreshing to see that they seem to be paying attention to the community and what's going on. And like you said, it's no easy task to acquire printing time to
No.
get this reprint out sooner than expected. And the fact that they were able to move it up a whole 2 or 3 months early, I don't think people just really appreciate what a miracle that is.
Well, and the money that they had to put in to make that happen as well, because this printers aren't cheap. And to expedite that by 2 or 3 months, I mean, they had to have been paying a ton to make that happen. So we have to appreciate that.
Yeah, for sure. And the missteps that have happened have been like the key big moments. So they're so easy to see. The Gen Con opening day, the problems there. Everybody saw it. And then the lack of product everywhere and the fact that prices skyrocketed. Everybody can see that. So, as long as they are, as you said, they are listening, watching, and making changes as we go forward, that's all we can expect of them. Obviously, we all would have wanted things to have run better from the start, but it's a new game for them,
Yep.
And so we just want to see them listening and see them making changes to make things better. And that's everything that we've been seeing is that what they're doing. And now how long it takes. And like you said, if set 4 is, if we're repeating ourselves at set 4, then yes, there's issues because that's a year away.
Yeah.
Almost a year away. So yeah, I think I said the exact same thing to my wife just like an hour ago. And if it's not happening by set 4, then I mean everything should be running smoother by set 4.
It has to be.
That's like the timeline we have in our heads of okay, knowing how long it takes in advance to print things and all that kind of stuff. Then that's like in my head, it's like that's the timeline. And it's nice to see that that's what a lot of people are thinking is like, okay, it's gonna get better.
Yeah. Well, and I think the other thing too, right, is that negative press is always going to make good press, not for the company, obviously, but as far as, people on social media, those stories make headlines and people run with it and some of it gets sensationalized. And that's just the nature of, the world. They're going to look at the negative stuff and be like, look at this one thing they're doing wrong and not see the 5 other good things that they're doing. That's just human nature.
Like making a really fun game.
Exactly. I love the game. So I mean
exactly. So speaking of Lorcana and the things you about Lorcana for you and why you wanted to become the Lorcana person, how did you first hear about the game? And you said you played a lot of games, but did you have prior trading card game experience?
I had an extensive trading card game experience. So like I went to school for video games. So like any good video game nerd, I started in college by playing Hearthstone. I think we spent like every lunch break playing Hearthstone against each other. And then from there, I moved into playing the Game of Thrones card game, 2nd edition. So that was not a collectible card game. It was just like you bought like core sets and then you had all the cards. And I played that for probably about 5 years competitively. And then played a bunch of different ones. After Thrones started to die, we moved into the Final Fantasy card game. But I didn't really stick around with that one because I didn't necessarily like the IP. Nothing against Final Fantasy fans, it's just not my jam. Kingdom Hearts, sure, but not Final Fantasy. And then we tried Legends of the Five Rings when that dropped at Gen Con. That game is a hot mess. Star Wars Destiny, that game was great. FFG killed it unrightfully.
You pick all the winners, huh?
I really do. Here's to hoping Lorcana makes it further. Yeah, there's been a ton over the years, but this has been my favorite so far.
Wait, I have to like back the train up here. You said you went to school for video games. Is that like playing video games or designing video games? What does that mean?
I went to school, so I went to the digital animation and visual effects school, and I did the video game track. So I am a trained video game artist, working in game engines, animations, modeling, texturing, rigging, particle effects. That's my jam.
That is like the coolest thing ever.
So that's my day job, and then my second job is working for WW News Today
You
in
do
all of my spare
both?
time. Yeah,
Wow. I thought
yeah.
the WDW was a full-time thing.
Yeah, it takes up a bunch of time. My free time is essentially working at WW News Today, and then what's left over is playing Lorcana, which works out great because I use Lorcana content for the site, so it just kind of like perpetuates itself. It's great.
They do say to get a job that is what you love to do.
Exactly. Yeah,
And then it
they're
doesn't
right.
feel like work.
Yeah. I can sit and write for hours and like I'll look up and I'm like, oh, it's 1 o'clock in the morning. I should like go to bed now. And then I'm like, oh, I'll play a game on Pixelboard real quick and then I'll go to bed.
So you had said that Lorcana is the one that you've had the most fun with. What has kind of separated it from all those other games you mentioned?
The Disney aspect of it, honestly.
That's fair.
I think it's saying to me, right? Like it's like like looking at the game, it has obviously like some components that are unique to it, but it's not mechanics that we haven't seen in other games. But the Disney aspect of it isn't something that we've seen in other games, and I really, really love it for that. There are other aspects of other games I would like to see come into Lorcana, but I'm completely content with set one. I think it was like a really great introductory set for people who haven't played card games. And for me, as someone who has played a bunch, it was really easy to just slip right into it. And it was like, yeah, I got it. Let's go. I think I played like 1 or 2 games and I was like, all right, I got it. This is great.
I mean, not only is the art like spot on
Mhm.
for Disney animation, but even there was that article that released today, and I can't remember from which outlet exactly because we're just getting news so
All the
fast, but
time.
they were interviewing Steve Warner about the songs. So it was a song article, and he said that, like he gave the example that they were watching Mulan for like research. I'm like, what kind of job is that? I'm watching Disney movies for research. He's like,
Yeah.
when we were watching I Will Make a Man Out of You, like during that song, he's like, and it just hit us. This song card came with us. So not only is it the art, but I feel like a lot of times they capture the essence of Disney too. Like Mother
Mhm.
Gothel is going to come into the field with 3 damage, which is the perfect amount for Rapunzel to heal when she comes on board.
Yeah.
Like I don't know, stuff like that is just, I don't know. It's details like that that makes this feel like a Disney game.
Oh, I agree. And like all of the Flynn Rider stuff has been great. Like, I mean, the art with him in the background, like having like the different noses, like that's straight out of Tangled. And as someone who like watches all of the movies all of the time, like it just, there's a little part of it that just makes your soul really happy.
Yeah,
I mean,
agreed.
it's just so much fun seeing all the not just pulling in the Disney visual, but the Disney themes and the Disney behind the scenes, the
Mhm.
little nods to thing and just being able to, I think we talked about this on a previous one, but just the fact that they know Disney enough. And as you mentioned, watching Mulan for research, okay,
Mhm.
great. I want that job. But just the fact that they know it so much and can put it into a game that we can enjoy playing, it's just so awesome to see.
Well, and like I think one of the things that I appreciate so much that I just come to appreciate the more that I see it, the Dreamborn and the Floodborn cards, having the mind to sit there and think, what does Belle want to be? What does Captain Hook want to be? What if we took their story and we twisted it completely? Like I think that that's so genius, and like that's the job that I want to like sit there and think of like all these different things that they can do. I was recently at Disneyland and I had the Goofy card where he's like coming out of the cannon, the evasive one. And so I was meeting with Goofy and I had the card with me and I was like, I just want to show you like how brave and how cool you are. And he just like looked at it and like the joy in his face. And it was just like, this is the moment that I live for. This is great.
I love it. And not only to piggyback off what you guys said, that they're speaking to the story and the spirit of Disney, but they're also like weaving these webs of its own story. So it's going
Yeah.
to have its own like lore and its own. I mean, we're going to find out what the Floodborn are. all these things, and that part has me intrigued as well. It's
Yeah.
just like every aspect besides the negative stuff that we've already mentioned has just been so good.
Yeah, like we know that there's like the ink water or something like the Steamboat Mickey. He's like driving down and like the flavor text is like something about like the ink water, or like he's driving in like the ink river. And then like we can see how like some of the characters are like in the library and like their backgrounds are connecting to each other, and it's like, what are they doing here together? I want to know. Or like you can see like Minnie, and then I think it like I forget, is it Donald, the scuba divers, and you can see them in each other's cards. Like, what's going on? I need to know.
Yes, 100%.
And we're not going to find out for probably months.
I know. I was kind of hoping. So, I mean, set two is coming out soon. I was hoping that there would be like, how when like right before set one came out, they released that little like minute long like animated video. I'm hoping that they do something like that again. That would be
Yeah.
really great.
I think we've gotten, what is it, 2 of those so far?
Yeah,
So I hope we get 1 or 2 every set. And
that'd be
then
great.
get a lot of story to fill it in with, like, the Twitter posts have been showing like little bits, very little bits of lore with the text that goes along with the card reveal in the last week or two.
They're
And
teasing us.
yeah, it's just
Yeah.
like just giving us a drip. The pen is leaking a little bit.
Yeah.
Okay, so you message like we've been talking in preparation of this podcast, and one of the questions I was going to ask you is if you consider yourself more of a competitive or a casual player, because you mentioned that you go to weekly Lorcana events. Talking to you, it's pretty clear that you're probably a competitive player. So, what draws you to the competitive aspect? Let's ask that question.
I don't like to lose. I don't know. There's just like some part of me that's just like you get a little bit of satisfaction winning.
I don't know if anybody likes to lose, though.
Well, and I like to like win for like stakes, right? So like I love to gamble, and maybe that's like some sick part of me that's like likes the competitive part of it too. I like winning things, so it's like if you go to a shop and you could win a pack, like ooh. I had to collect the pins. I'm a big pin collector for Disney in general. When they came out with the Lorcana pins, I was like, oh, well, I have to have those. So I grinded. I went to like 3 shops like a week, and then I was like, all right, I got them. We're good. Um, my significant other is like obsessed with that like weird lore counter for some reason. I don't know why. Whenever we go to pick prizes for things, like that's always the last one, and he's like, "Ooh, I get it." And I'm just like, the pins, man, the pins.
Pat.
It's just that's so funny. But yeah, no, I love the competitive side of it. I love going out and like meeting people too. We have a pretty good circuit here in Minneapolis and in Minnesota in general, and everyone's just been super nice. And even when you're playing competitively, the games feel lighthearted and fun, like a casual match. There's a lot of joking around going on, but a lot of like still critical thinking, which I think is a really good balance.
So, is your partner just as competitive as you?
Yeah, he and I like we always are like 2-1, 3-0, like we're always trying to beat each other. Like he'll build a deck, and then I'm like, huh, my deck won't beat this. So I go and build a new deck, and then he was like, oh well, no, I have to change my deck.
I love it. That's awesome.
Right, so you mentioned how you're competitive and that the set is coming up soon. So with set 2, now when we're recording this, like 10 days away, how do you think the meta is going to shake up?
Oh man, I think Steel Song is still gonna be there, especially with the songs that came out today. It's like they were like, you know what's good? Steel Song. You know what? We're gonna make better Steel Song. I think that Emerald is gonna get better. I say this all the time. I love Emerald, but you need something else to play with Emerald. Emerald isn't good by itself. It needs to have like a helper. And I feel like the cards that we're getting are going to help make Emerald a little bit more of an alpha, if you will, as other as like a beta. So I'm excited to see that. And I hate steel, so I haven't been really looking at any of the steel cards. But I know that it's good, and that just drives me crazy because I don't want to play that color.
My baby is Sapphire, and
Sapphire is great.
Sapphire has the ramp thing
Yeah.
going on, which I really want to make work. And that Winnie the Pooh was leaked today, and there's been some stuff like down the rabbit hole that
Yeah.
seems to buff Sapphire ramp strategy, but I think I might lean more into the healing strategy with Grand Pappy,
Oh,
and the Jasmine. And I don't know what I'm going to pair it with yet. I really like the Amber pairing, but that's what's so fun about Lorcana is like you can make pretty much any color combination work. It could be fun to pair it with Emerald for all the shenanigans it has.
hmm. Well, and I like building decks for different purposes, right? Like what you build to be your competitive deck could be a completely different one that you're playing for multiplayer or draft or something. And I like the versatility in that. I also like just breaking or playing decks that just like break the meta because I don't like playing the meta. Um, that's just who I am. I really, really, really want to play around with like the Madam Mid Merlin stuff. As soon as I saw those cards coming out, I was like, this seems like a super fun mechanic that I want to try and mess with.
So do you think the games are going to get shorter? Like, do you think the cards that have been introduced are going to make it so we don't have the Ruby Amethyst grind sessions?
It's so funny. So right now I'm playing Ruby Emerald and my games take like 10 minutes. So I play so at all of my shops, and I'm sure probably the same for you guys, 15-minute timer usually, sometimes 40, 45 for 3 games. And so that's like our competitive set essentially for like 1 game. And I get done with my matches in like 25 minutes, maybe 30 if I go against, like Ruby Amethyst or something. So then I'm sitting around and I'm just watching everyone else just like grind through those or like the mirror match for it. And I'm just like, I don't have that problem. So maybe the games will take longer. I don't think mine will if I stick to what I'm doing.
So it sounds like Emerald is the one that you have to use in order to keep the matches short.
Oh, it's so easy because everything has such high lore.
Yeah.
It's just the 2, the 3, or if you're playing like Cusco and Cheshire, they've got high lore and you're banishing character. Oh, it's just so good. It's nasty.
Yeah.
I've been taking a lemon lime deck to my locals, and it's served me well. And same thing, my matches are over with like 25 minutes left, and then we're just sitting there like, okay, what do we do now?
Play another
I haven't
game.
gone 3-0 yet, but I've gone 2-1 both weeks, both the last 2
Nice.
weeks.
I like to use that time to like chat with like my partner or something because like
Same.
a lot of the people that I have met playing this game, I want to say there's maybe like 5 or 6 that I've met playing previous card games, but a lot of the people coming into this game are brand new card game players. So it's been really fun to meet new people, and like we have a couple of kids that come to ours, and I like to see that and kind of watch like the next generation grow. It's not Pokemon that they're going to now, it's Lorcana, and I love that.
Get some trading done if there's still some cards you might need.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I'm
I
still
always look at Emerald as when we first saw it, it's like, and started getting cards like, oh, this is the card that this the color you play if you want to mess with your opponent.
Mhm.
And now with all the releases, it's like they said, well, now this is the card release where now we're going to mess with you because now you have to figure out how many uninkables you want in your deck, and we're just going to make 1,000,000 uninkables.
Yeah, and that's like a real problem. I am like constantly tweaking my deck because I think at my highest I was at like 18, and I was like, this is not sustainable. Like I'm running into too many ink problems. So I think right now I'm down to 14, which then I'm like, oh, I miss having 4 of Cusco because I'm only running 2. And it's like, this card's so good, but I need to be able to ink something. It sucks.
The Lorcana players deck builder's dilemma.
Yeah.
Those uninkables.
Well, and then my partner is playing what is it? Sapphire Steel, and he runs the fishbone quill or whatever. So he's like, I don't care what my uninkable count is. I could just use this and ink whatever. And I was like, aren't you cool? I can't do that.
Which set 2 card or cards are you most looking forward to running?
So definitely the Madam and Merlin stuff. I also really want to play with the dwarves. Like you can't put out a combo that is Snow White and the 7 dwarves and not have me at least try and make it work. It just seems too fun. And like if you got all of them at the same time, then their art connects. And like that's just cute. They did such a good job.
There has to be a way to make that work. There has to be.
Has to be. I need it to work. Just like once. If I just got it to work once, I'd be like, I did it. Next deck.
Someone's
Was
gonna
there
figure
like,
out a way to make that thing like ultra powerful.
Oh yeah.
is there like a single card where you're like, yeah, this is the card that I want to play? Like I know you said Madam Mim and Merlin. Was there a single one of those that you were like, yeah, I want to give this a try? Or is there a single card like Christopher Robin where you're like, that's a really cool card. I want to give that a try.
I think it's the big Madam Mim, which I think is a disappointment considering she's legendary. Um, so I'm hoping that I pull one. I don't want to resort to having to buy it. I want to pull it with my own hands and use it. But oh man, that card is what evasive as well as having the bounce back. Like that is nasty. Play that and it's amethyst too, so you could play that with the Elsa. Oh, that's like a combo that I want to do so bad.
Yeah, and you would and the Emerald Amethyst decks have been pretty good, so you could
They
keep
have,
Emerald
yeah.
and play it with the Amethyst.
That's true. I haven't played with that one too much. I think I'm at a point right now where I'm like, set 2 is coming out soon enough. I'm not gonna switch up what I'm doing. I'm just gonna wait it out and then get all my cards and then see what I can start building. So we were lucky enough to get a couple of pre-orders. So here's to hoping that we pull some good stuff.
Pre-orders for set 2.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man.
Yeah.
I'm still homeless on the set 2
Oh,
pre-orders.
oh no, no one
My
around you got allocations or
Okay, so here's the deal. Like most of the stores around me are tying it to if you play in their league, which there
oh.
was one, the first 6 weeks I played at a certain store, but then I switched jobs and I wasn't able to go there. So I'm going to a new place and they haven't said anything about set 2 yet. So I'm
Mm,
hoping on Saturday, the day after this airs, they'll tell us what their plans are because they'll have to know. They'll have to
yeah.
know what their plans are by then. But it's
Oh.
either you have to be playing in their leagues or you have to go there on opening night. And they're like, people who come and play the tournament on November 17th will have a chance to buy a box. Well, that's all fine and good, but I'm going to be out of town to like a mini
Oh.
family Thanksgiving that
Oh.
weekend. So it's
That's
just
so
like,
unfortunate.
why did it have to be that weekend? It should have been the weekend before.
I do think it is a little weird that they were holding this so close to Thanksgiving, knowing that people are traveling. Um, I don't know what made them say it's that week versus like the week before, or even the week after. I thought that was kind of weird. I got super lucky. One of the shops that we go to, and we don't go super often, but one of the days we happen to be going there, they're like, we got our allocations. We're letting everyone pre-order, but you have to be here today. And then we're gonna put up like the rest of them online tonight. And by the end of the night, they only had like 2, and they went up online and they were gone instantly. I think we hadn't even left the parking lot and they were like gone.
I was
So
so lucky.
it was a stroke of luck that we went there that day. We're normally busy on Wednesdays. We happened to go there and we were like, wow, someone was looking out for us today. The Lorcana gods were shining upon us.
Same exact
The
thing
great
happened to me.
illuminator.
Really?
Yep. Yeah, I've been going to, how many different shops have I gone to since the opening? 1, 2, 3, 4, I think 5 different shops, maybe 6 now. And one of them that I'd been to for a few weeks and then couldn't go for a few weeks, I went back again a couple of weeks ago. And the night I went back, they were handing out at the end of the tournament, they handed out papers that said, okay, fill this out for what you would like to pre-order if we get quantities.
Wow.
And I mean, it's just like one of each,
Yeah.
but it's something.
Yeah.
And
Our
so
ours did a bundle, so you get a box and then the 2 starter decks and then sleeves. The play mats weren't included. So I'm gonna have to go hunting for my Winnie the Pooh play mat, but I will have that play mat if it's over my dead body because he needs to be hanging in my office. He's too cute. It has to happen.
I'm going to have to buy 2 of the Winnie the Poohs because I want to play with one, and there's one
Yeah.
that's getting put away because I've been putting away one of everything.
Okay.
And just because I want to have a collection to go with all of my cards that I open. And, the Winnie the Pooh one is going to get an extra one bought if I can find them.
Yeah.
And open it up and play with it. And it's going to replace my custom that I made that I've been playing with for months now. So
Ooh, an
yeah,
upgrade or
yeah,
a downgrade. Who knows?
yeah. All right. So getting back to things that have been coming up in the future, recently in the announcement they made a couple weeks ago, Ravensburger announced that in January they would they announced the announcement of January. They're going to announce organized play plans and the information about events for casual fans, the fan events. What do you hope that those events are going to look like?
It has to be a tournament at Disney, right? Like it has to be. I couldn't see them doing anything. I mean, obviously, so actually, here's what I truly think. So in Final Fantasy, they have this thing called Crystal Cups. And basically you play in one and you can qualify to your, it's either their nationals or their worlds. I don't remember. But they're held all over the US essentially. So they have like one in Kansas City, one at Gen Con, kind of like big plate, well, Kansas City, I don't know how big it is, but they put one there. So I'm hoping that this is like a model that Lorcana can take. Maybe they hold like ink cups. So they have one in Disneyland, they have one in Disney World, they have one at Gen Con, maybe one at PAX Unplugged, somewhere, the last whatever big convention, or maybe like
Maybe
a
one in
really
Las
big city.
Vegas.
Maybe one in Las Vegas, because Las Vegas is great. And like they have Magic Con there, right? Or they do something magic
Yeah.
there.
Yep. They do
Yeah.
Magic on here.
Yeah, so I mean, like, that's the perfect place for it. So that's my hope. I would love to see something like that. And then at the end, you qualify for, like I said, either their nationals or their worlds. And in my opinion, that also has to be held at a Disney park. I couldn't see where else it would be. Guess we'll have to wait and see. But that's my if I could put anything out into the universe, that's it right there.
That'd be perfect.
What about
Yeah.
the casual events? What do you think those are going to be? Because I think they're going to actually keep those separate and
Okay.
not have them at the same time, because they basically made it sound like they were two different events.
Interesting. I didn't catch that. Um, I mean, maybe casual events are like in the bigger cities then. Maybe they go like not every state, because that's no one like North Dakota, South Dakota, you put those together. As a Minnesotan, I can say that. But like maybe they have one in like a couple of the big cities, like in Florida, or like we were saying, Las Vegas or California. And that's just kind of like a place where like people can go and just play together, and it's not like a super stressful thing. Because the other thing you have to keep in mind is like stores aren't going to stop holding their casual events or their tournaments or anything. So you have to be able to balance those two, and make sure that they work in harmony and that you're not taking one away from the other. Because obviously Lorcana wants to keep a good relationship with the game stores, considering that's how they're getting product out to a ton of their customers.
I don't think that these would replace the store events. I think
Yeah.
the way I picture it, and we talked about this last week, is it's almost like a D23, but for Lorcana, where you celebrate all things Lorcana, whether it's the artist, whether it's like selling merch, whether it's doing like multiplayer, just super casual stuff, things like that.
That'd be really cool, and also probably a lot more reasonable than trying to do it at D23, because we saw that that was a disaster when it came to handing out the cards. It's very clear that this needs to be separate, because like D23 is its own monster, right? With like all of the movie stuff, the Marvel stuff, the animation, the perks panels. Like there's a specific clientele that's going to that. And to try and be mushing Lorcana into it, which is also a specific clientele, they just need to be separate for the sake of like keeping the peace and like the Disney nerds happy and not getting one group in the way of the other.
Yeah, that'd be great.
All right. So we've mentioned a few times already, but tell people a little bit. We want to talk about WDWNT. It's hard for me to say that now. Like it just does not roll off the tongue. Tell us a little bit about WDWNT, how they can find it, and what types of content they can expect to find there. Because listening to you talk, where you're like, we have people writing from 6 a.m. till midnight. It's like a constant flow. Today was Bob, the earnings call with Bob Iger. We have all this stuff. So just tell us all about that.
So you can find us first off on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. All of the handle is WWNT. It's super easy. It's like 5 letters. Just put your W's and your T's in the right spot, and you'll find us. It's a little blue logo. super easy. We also have a website, which is just WDWNT.com, I believe. I should know that, but I don't. Pretty sure that's it. But on our blog, we have all of our recent posts. So I think we publish like 30 to 35 posts a day, roughly. So anything that we write, you can be found there. We'll post perks content. We'll post like stuff from the earnings calls. We'll post movie and animation news. We post Lorcana things. Anything that's in the realm of Disney, we post. We have people working standby on that all the time. We also have a YouTube channel. So we'll post park updates in there. We've got a ton of podcasts that cover a bunch of different things. We've got one that they watch stuff on Disney Plus and they talk about it. It might be super old movies or it might be super new ones. I got to talk about Muppets Mayhem, and that was great because I love that show. I have a Lorcana podcast. So I mean, like, we've got like your brand of Disney, we have it. You just have to find us online.
Okay, hold on. I did not realize you had your own Lorcana podcast.
Yeah.
Is it under the WDWNT?
So if you go to WDWNT TV, which is like our sister YouTube channel, you will find this is kind of where we put like a lot of our evergreen content, we like to call it. So it's not specific like strict news related. We try to keep all of that to the main WDWNT channel just for the sake of keeping news and like editorial stuff separate. But if you go to this channel, and it's like linked on like the main channel too, and you go to the little Lorcana tab, you'll find I think like a Lorcana playlist, and me and my co-host Ben Harris have our own podcast. We have 4 episodes out so far. He's also the one that I filmed the Learn to Play with at Gen Con. He's been around the website, I think, longer than I have at this point. So it's been really fun to work together, and we're both big game nerds. He's like a level 2 judge for Magic. So like I always have him talk about card rulings because I'm like, this is your realm now. That's his shtick, and then I just talk about how pretty all of the cards are. But it's super fun. I love it. It's been a really great time.
Awesome. That's fantastic. So I think it's time we move into the ending segments.
So we're going to we're going to kick off ending segments with Lorcana Lexicon. And today we're going to do errata, which is what?
Errata is when they introduce a card and further down the line, they have to change how this card interacts based on new game mechanics or just the game design changing. And so if the actual text of the ability changes, the errata, it's called an errata, and the old text will be listed and the new text will be there.
Yeah, it could also be even if they just missed a word, right?
Yeah.
I think
Right.
that's what happened with support, the keyword support. They forgot to include chosen character on most of them or all of them in the first set. And they wanted to make sure that chosen was on there so that Ward could stop doing that. I don't know why you would pick someone else's character. Oh, wait, you would be able to pick up someone else's character with support. I don't know, whatever. But they wanted to add chosen. So every card that has support was errated to add chosen to the text. And I think actually they're showing up in the reprint with that fix on them. So
I think you're right.
Yeah.
that'll be interesting to see. All right. So next up, we have some news, which I think that's right in Alicia's wheelhouse here. But there really wasn't a whole lot of news except for card reveals, right? I mean, we had like a short leak of the starter decks, but we're not going to really talk about those because it's a leak, not an actual news item. So we just mentioned that it happened and move on.
Yep.
There was something I actually wanted to talk about that I didn't realize until a couple of days ago. And I think that it's been there for a short, maybe a couple of weeks at least already. But did you know that when you're looking in the official Lorcana app, that if you're looking at an individual card, if there is errata or questions about the card, there will be a little more information text at the very bottom of the picture. And if you tap on that, it will go up and show you the errata to the card or the FAQ about it, like for Moana, and the questions about if you quest with Moana, does it mean all the princesses can't, or because you didn't originally exert them. They can't anymore. Basically, it answers questions like that they've put into the, if you look on the website and resources, there's an FAQ document. And this is like attached to each individual card, and the errata for things like support are all there. So you can actually look at each individual card. And whenever you see more information at the bottom, you will actually be able to find out what about that card is changing, or for a ruling or something like that.
That's actually really great to know. This was a conversation that we had on our podcast the last time we filmed, where we knew that erratas were gonna happen. I mean, that's just the nature of any card game. Stuff gets missed, stuff gets changed where they have to change it. But we didn't understand how that was going to be communicated. Whether, you know, obviously like the new cards being printed, they mentioned they were going to have it, but we were like, what if you don't have those cards? What if you have the original ones like I do? Like, we don't get the errata then? I don't understand where I learned where this is. Super great to know that it's in the app. That is very handy. And I mean, everyone has that basically downloaded anyway. So if you don't have it, then someone at your shop should at least.
Now, okay. And so next up, we have a tweet from, what is it? Hal Kendall?
Hill.
Kendall Hal?
Yeah.
Kendall Hale. Okay. We have a tweet from Kendall Hale, who announced that he will be at a shop in Burbank, California, LA Sports Cards, for the release of Rise of the Floodborn on November 17th at noon, along with artists Brian Weiss and Bill Robinson, and they'll be there signing for a few hours. And the main reason I wanted to announce this is because, well, two reasons. One, Kendall Hale is the artist on all the Dwarves cards.
Ooh.
So if you're able to pull get a starter deck, and I think you get most of them, but you can get what would you call, a triptych is 3 pictures. What would you call a 7?
Oh.
Septic.
That can't be right.
But you would be able to get those signed, and also Jared, Brian Weiss. What did he draw?
Oh, you're making me sad. He is the one who illustrated Flounder.
Right.
And the reason why I'm sad is because, again, this goes back to what I was saying earlier. I'm going to be in Idaho for an early Thanksgiving.
And if you were in Vegas, could have called in sick and just driven the 4 hours.
Oh, I have the day off. I totally could have gone.
Could have gone. I'm hoping somebody in LA hears of your plight and is maybe going to be going anyway, and takes the incredibly valuable Flounder card out of their collection and gets one signed for you. Now, obviously that person should be me, because I do live an hour away from Burbank, but I'm also possibly going to have to work that day. I don't know yet. And also, I don't know if there's going to be any events that I'm going to be playing at that time. So I can't guarantee it'll be me, but if I decide to catch a mysterious bug on that Friday morning, and then there are no events until the evening, there's a chance that I may just make my way up the freeway to Burbank.
There we go.
You'll take the 405 for him, man. That's kind.
Okay, but I'm just imagining poor Brian. He's sitting there signing cards. Maybe, I don't know. I've actually never talked to him, so I don't know if he's even aware of the Flounder meme, the Flounder phenomenon. So I'm just imagining him sitting there signing, and all of a sudden all these people are going to be like, hey, the Team Flounder guy who makes all the memes, he's not able to come. I want to get a card signed for him. Is that okay? Like, what if I get like 20 Flounder cards that are mailed to me?
You could.
I really could.
Will you be bummed about that?
I would not be bummed about it. It would just be an interesting situation.
I think it may cause Mr. Weiss to possibly look into who this Team Flounder guy is. And yeah, so
get him on the pod.
Yeah,
I'm
exactly.
just thinking of all of the extra Flounder cards that I have sitting upstairs, which I'm pretty sure is probably like 5 that I could be mailing to Mr. Flounder, to Team Flounder.
It's awesome. Well, I already have like 10 foils, and I sent 2 off to get graded. One's a 10, one's a 9.
Wow.
So those should be coming back soon.
What a strong fish.
Yep. That's awesome. But anyway, for anyone who's in the LA area, it's LA Sports Cards in Burbank, noon on November 17th. 3 of the Lorcanas. And also Bill Robinson has done some really awesome cards as well. I mean, all 3 of them have done some amazing cards. So if you have a chance, take some first chapter cards, get them signed, and say hi to and tell them all about Team Flounder.
That's right. Rep the fish.
Rep the fish. Okay, so now the constant weekly argument of how many cards are we going to talk about? Because we can't talk about 39,000 cards that were revealed in the last 7 days, but we also don't want to talk about one because there was a lot of good cards, right?
There were.
So maybe 1 or 2 from each ink.
Oh.
We'll go with that. I'm going to kick it off with the one that was just revealed today. It's in Amethyst. It's a 4-cost uninkable Peter Pan's Shadow, not sewn on. It has 2 strength and 3 willpower. It has evasive and rush and 2 lore, and the ability tiptoe. Your other characters with rush gain evasive. And it's a super rare. And I think with all these abilities, I think there's a reason it's a super rare, because this seems like it's going to be a really powerful card in Amethyst to really help Rafikis and Mauis, and just really helping all those people who thought that they would try and be a little safer from Ruby Amethyst with all that rush with their evasive characters. And we're like, nope.
It's a rich man's Jetsam. Is it Jetsam that grants us to Flotsam?
It's like them combined, right?
One gives rush and one gives evasive, and then together they have evasive and rush.
And I was specifically thinking the ability where he says your other characters with rush gain evasive, and one of them gives the other evasive.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So, I mean, this is pretty crazy. This is a pretty good card.
That's a crazy card, yeah.
That with Maui will be nice, considering Maui can't quest currently.
Oh, I hate Maui. Well, I mean, I think another card that we're going to talk. Shere Khan, right?
Yeah.
List. Okay, we'll talk about it.
You can talk about it now. We can jump around.
Okay, let's talk about Shere Khan. Let me just pull him up. So, this was a card that was leaked from Germany, but it was officially, Steve Warner wrote a little post about it on the Disney Lorcana site. So Shere Khan is 3-cost inkable Ruby, menacing predator, 3 strength, 3 willpower, 1 lore. He's a rare, but the ability says, don't insult my intelligence. Whenever one of your characters challenges another character, gain 1 lore. So this gives your rush characters like Rafiki and Maui the ability to gain lore, just doing what they're doing. Like, you have Shere Khan on the table, you throw a Maui down, bam, 1 lore. If you have 2 Shere Khans on the table, that's 2 lore. I mean, that's kind of crazy. And then the other thing that he also pointed out is if you combo this with like Taka or the Simba, who also gain a lore after banishing a character, it's like, what, Taka gives you 1 lore, so this would be 2 lore just from the Taka banishing somebody. That's a pretty good card.
And I like that it starts to bring, like, I don't see Taka, at least in my circuit, it hasn't really been hasn't really had use. There's how we say words. So it's really nice to see other cards start to bring them in to become more useful.
Agreed.
For sure. And I mean, it makes Aladdin, the heroic outlaw Aladdin, even more powerful.
Love him.
Come on, a 5 lore swing instead of just a 4 lore.
Mm-hmm.
Amazing. All right, what do you have a couple of cards picked?
I have the one that came out today, the Raya. So 6-cost inkable Ruby. She's 5 willpower. I think that I always get these messed up. Willpower and defense, right? That's what it's called.
Strength and then willpower.
Strength and willpower. Thank you. I just called them attack and defense. So she is a 5 strength, 3 willpower. Floodborn hero princess. She has shift 4. Quest for 2 lore. She's a super rare. And then her ability is whenever this character challenges a damaged character, she takes no damage from the challenge. The reason that I love this is because I really want the princess deck to work. And this is going to be nasty in it with Moana. With her, and then the Mulan who gets like the +1 from like attacking and like banishing a character. And then this girl, ooh. princesses are getting more viable.
It is such a good ability.
It
Take no
is.
damage when you banish. I mean, the one downside is she only has 3 willpower, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
So the opponent can easily come back and swing into her and get rid of her.
Or
But I mean,
smash,
if
but
if you have a yeah, or smash, but if you have a board where you can clear off their side, like such a good card.
so good.
I mean, this thing can take out Maleficent Dragon without, as long as you've gotten pinged it with one damage somehow, like
That's
maybe
true.
put out a Tink and there's 1 damage sitting on it, or even you have one of the new cards out that deals 1 damage when you're exerted, or an item or an action, and you're just like, let me put 1 damage on that Maleficent Dragon and then shift my Riot in so she can attack immediately and go right into that Maleficent, because that dragon's only got 5 willpower. It's just enough, and you take no damage.
It's so good.
So good. I mean, it's very situational, so it's not, I don't think it's going to be like a mainstay, but I think it's going to be very good in the uses that people manage to figure out how to make it useful.
She's going in my princess deck. I keep saying this since day one. I was like, I'm gonna make it work. We don't have all the cards to make it work yet. That card will help.
Hearing you talk, I can see it coming together.
I try. I just want to manifest it. Because I love princesses so much. Like I want to be a Disney princess, so this is like the closest I'll get probably. So
So it seems like we're talking about a lot of the ones that they revealed in their daily articles they've been doing, because the next one I want to talk about is Emerald. Flynn Rider, his own biggest fan. Another 4-cost uninkable, 2 strength, 3 willpower with 4 lore. He's a Floodborn, of course. Hero Prince. Shift 2. You can pay 2 to play this on top of another character named Flynn. He has Evasive, which is awesome. And his ability, One Last Big Score. This character gets -1 lore for each card in your opponent's hands. And so you're like, well, this is fitting right in with the new discard, all the discard abilities of the Emerald cards that we've seen revealed, because you can just make your opponent discard and then, shift this on down after you get rid of all the opponent's cards. And I don't know, 4 lore instantly is pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah, I'm just gonna have to wait to see how the discard strategy works out, because currently, like, I don't know. It's very rare that your opponent has an empty hand. And I know Green Emerald has a ton of discard cards coming in set 2. So it's going to be a lot more likely to happen, especially if you have a Bell hidden Archer on the table. But
there's also another avenue, because the other card I wanted to mention.
I was going to talk about that one.
You do it then. Why is there another option?
So wait, real quick, because I am nervous about this from the card draw aspect, because if you look at Amethyst, even with the current cards that they have in the first chapter with Cauldron and Friends on the Other Side and the Queen, who you can tap to draw a card, they're not hurting for cards in Amethyst, which would then hurt your Flynn. So please, someone educate me on how this could work.
I know, and even in this new set, like Sapphire, which has had no card draw, is getting plenty of card draw. Ruby's getting card draw. So it seems like a lot of the inks are getting card draw. So I'm right there with you. I have to wait to see. That's why I said I'm gonna have to wait to see how this strategy actually plays out before I say how good I think Flynn's gonna be.
I think the next card that you're going to talk about is probably going to be used more often than the discard strategy of making sure it can get up to the full 4 lore. So
yeah. So I was going to talk about on Emerald, it's 3-cost uninkable. It's the Queen, Disguised Peddler, 2 strength, 3 willpower. She has 0 lore, and her ability is a perfect disguise. Exert, choose and discard a character card. Gain lore equal to the discarded character's lore. So, I mean, this is crazy because, like you said, you can have Flynn in your deck. You can exert the Queen and get 4 lore. You can have Goofy, Knight for a day, exert her, get 4 lore. You can have Maui. Like, you can throw in these big bruisers, and if you never get to a point where you can play them, you can just exert the Queen and get 4 lore.
Yeah,
I don't know, it's such a crazy card.
it's gross. I love it.
It's also a solution for the cards like for the Goofy, you may never get up to 9 ink.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden you can get that lore once for 3 ink.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a pretty good trade-off. Because Goofy
Agreed.
could be ink, Goofy could be 4 lore if you get this card out. Or if the game lasts long enough and you get up to 9 ink, you get that big body on the board.
Exactly. It's a win-win, honestly.
It's a good card.
Mm-hmm. So it also, I believe this one came out today. If it wasn't today, it was yesterday. But it's 3 cost, uninkable, steel. I think you guys know where this is going. Let the storm rage on. A character with cost 3 or more can sing the song for free. And then the ability deal 2 damage to chosen character, draw a card. Steel song just got better. It really did.
It
This
really
card's
did.
like this with tank. Oh man. You could take out, like, if you play a Tinkerbell and then you play this, you're doing 3 damage to someone in 1 turn. That's crazy. And you're getting a card out of it. Oh, there goes my Cheshire Cat.
Well, and they also, in the leak today, there was the Kronk card that is basically Tink with resist +1. He just doesn't deal 1 damage across the board.
But it's
But that's just another card for steel. That's just a solid card.
mm-hmm. Why did I have to pick steel to be the one that I hate?
It's the only precious metal in the group. I don't know.
There you go.
All right. So we have a lot of emeralds we're going to be talking about because I want to talk about the new Cheshire Cat, the Floodborn, 8 cost inkable, 5 strength, 6 willpower, shift 5. So it's another one that you can play for 3 less than its cost. It has evasive, 2 lore, and the ability Wicked Smile, exert to banish chosen damaged character. This is another awesome card.
It's so good. Like, they took the original first chapter Cheshire Cat and they're like, whose ability is already awesome, in my opinion. And they're like, how do we make it even cooler? Here we go. And obviously he costs more, but I mean, for ability like that, you couldn't make it cost less or would just get, abused, basically.
And so there was a 2 cost Cheshire that was revealed earlier as well. And I really enjoy how the art on all 3 was done, I think, by 3 different artists. And yet they all flow in some way to really be thematically similar with like the missing stripes and the coloring. And I mean, it's just really awesome how the art all works together on all 3 cards.
I mean, the other thing about this card, it's an 8 cost that you can shift out on turn 5. You could bring the cat out. Next turn, you could quest for 2, and then you could bibbity bobbity boo it, a way to get another 8 cost card like Elsa out.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
It's
so
I don't know.
evil.
It's
And
yeah.
no one wants to attack the baby Cheshire anyway because you don't want your character to get banished. So like it has that going for it to begin with. So you already know you're going to get the 2 lore. So they either have to find a way to deal with it and lose one of their characters or Dragonfire or something to get it out of there, or they know what's coming is going to be even worse than what's already out there. So I love it.
So evil. These ones, I'm not going to talk about the cards themselves really too much. The Jafar giant metal snake, amazing art, amazing concept. The Cruella de Vil sapphire card, perfectly wretched, amazing art, love it.
Beautiful card.
The Nothing to Hide card, this one I do want to mention. It's a 1 cost sapphire action. Each opponent reveals their hand, draw a card. On turn 1, you learn your opponent's game plan for the next few turns, basically, and you get to replace this card. And it's a common. This is going in every sapphire deck, I think.
That's the first time you're getting card knowledge too in the game.
Yeah.
We haven't had anything like that in the first chapter, so it's nice to see that they're starting to implement that mechanic.
Yeah,
I almost see it being more valuable later in the game because at the first, you know, you're going to be sculpting your hand for the next few turns, but by the time you're around turn 4 or 5, especially if you're playing against a Ruby player, you can take a peek at their hand and see if they have a Dragonfire or be prepared, and that can better inform your strategy of how you play.
Mhm.
That's why you put 4 of them in there, because you can play it at the beginning and later in the game.
Yeah.
I think so. I think it's just a really good card that's gonna allow you to do some fun things in Sapphire. And then the last one I wanted to mention was Doc, just specifically of the dwarves. I was watching Steadfast, I think, a video on the dwarves and whether the whole package is going to be good. And he specifically pointed out Doc as being the one dwarf who probably will see play even if you don't play the other dwarves, because of his abilities share and share alike. Whenever this character quests, you pay 1 less for the next character you play this turn. Anything that can help you cheat out cards is going to be a great thing. And so I think this thing's going to be pretty cool. And he gets 2 lore when he quests, and he only costs 3. So awesome card.
Yeah, you don't need the other dwarves for that. He's just a good staple card to run.
And if you really want to be bummed about Amber getting more powerful cards, go look up the new Mufasa Legendary, because that one's going to ruin a lot of people's lives. All right. So next up, it's time for Disney trivia. Disney Jeopardy.
Disney Jeopardy, and we already asked Alicia if she was willing to participate, and she said she was born and ready for this moment, trained your whole life.
Trained my whole life.
So we got some, I don't know, we got some pretty tough questions for you.
Oh, well, now I'm screwed.
All right.
All the confidence has left the building.
We'll see. You'll probably ace this. And we're going to start with an easy one for 100. This is the name of Goofy's son in the movie, A Goofy Movie.
Max.
All right. Ding, 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 ding. It's a lot harder from here on out.
Okay.
For 200.
Oh, that was my appetizer.
That was your. We may be giving you some softballs, but it's only the first one.
Yeah. This is a Disney Parks question.
Okay.
This is the year Pirates of the Caribbean opened in Walt Disney World.
Oh, in Disney World? Was it an opening day attraction? I'm gonna say 71, but I don't think it was opening day.
So close. 1973.
Yeah.
Did you say 73 the second time?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was between the two. I was like, I don't think it opened, because they had a whole bunch of problems when they were building. That was supposed to be like a walk-through attraction originally. Then it turned into a boat ride. It's a whole thing. It's actually very interesting in history. That and the Haunted Mansion, if you're curious about park history, please go read books or like articles about that. Fascinating.
Yes, I just heard this one because I just watched the new season of Behind the Attraction on Disney Plus, and one of them is about Pirates of the Caribbean. So they did mention that it wasn't open on when the park opened.
That show like makes me cry. It's so good.
All right, back on track, you guys. For 300, this is the game that Kronk played when Kronk and Yzma were in the jungle searching for Cusco in Disney's The Emperor's New Groove.
Oh my gosh. What in the jungle? The only part I don't know why I'm thinking about this. I'm thinking of Bucky with the little pointer with the balloon. That's all I can think about when they're in the jungle. I don't know it.
The answer is, what is exotic bird bingo?
Oh, yeah, I wouldn't have gotten that. I love that movie dearly, and I wouldn't have gotten that.
I wouldn't have gotten that either.
Me neither. I haven't seen the movie in a while, so.
Oh, it's so good.
All right, for 400, this is Baymax's purpose/profession in Big Hero 6.
Professional healthcare. It's like professional healthcare assistant or aide or something. I know they have like a
ding, 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 ding. I'll give you
We'll give
that.
that one to you.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's close enough.
And like you didn't even break a sweat on that one. All right, for 500. This is because I just rewatched this movie. This is the name of Ratigan's cat in The Great Mouse Detective.
I haven't seen that movie.
You've never seen it?
If I have, I was very young.
Okay, you need to watch it. The answer is what is Felicia, or who is Felicia?
Okay, yeah, I definitely. That one is on my list. There is a bunch of old ones, 101 Dalmatians and stuff. I need to rewatch as an adult. It's been a long time.
For research, right?
Yeah.
Tell Tom you need to watch these movies for research for the blog.
As the old person around here, I saw that in theaters when it came out.
that.
All right, Grandpa, go touch grass. Just teasing.
Amazing.
Anyway, Alicia, we want to thank you so much for coming on and joining us. It was a pleasure. If people want to find you, where can they find you online?
So you can find us at WDWNT. You can also find us at the Luminary Library. That's the podcast. We have a really cute Instagram where I post pictures of the cards in the parks with like imagery that goes with them. It's like my passion project. It's weird. It's fun. I love it. Couple of events that I want to plug if I have a second, if that's okay.
Go ahead.
November 18th, if you are in the Orlando area, WDWNT Studio is holding a casual Lorcana tournament. So you can head to our website for that. It's gonna be super fun. The week after, so Thanksgiving weekend, we're holding our annual Toys for Tots marathon. We're gonna be playing a staff Lorcana tournament, which I just found out about. So I can't wait to crush all of my coworkers.
I can say you better win.
I have to, right? Like if I don't, I'm gonna have to like, wear the cone of shame or something. I think that's everything. Oh, and this is like the first time that we're talking about it, but we're going to be starting to live stream Lorcana on our Twitch account. So I'm really excited for that. We've been working super hard on turning the upstairs of my house into like a professional studio at this point. So war zone up there, but I'm super excited and it's going to be fun. So I think that's everything.
That is so cool. You have so much going on.
Always.
And I have my Twitter and we have our podcast. Just teasing. If you liked what you heard, you can follow us on YouTube. You can follow us, subscribe on the podcasting platform of your choice. You can find me on the website formerly known as Twitter at Citizens of Lorcana. And James, where can they find you?
You can find me everywhere at Dan Regal, and you can check out geekshotphoto.com for links for my wife and I for social medias and photography and stuff. And thank you again for Alicia for joining us. And thank you all for listening. And we'll see you next time.